Today, we are embarking on a journey through the minds of the questionably intelligent players in the WoW community. We are looking at the unpopular opinions, or so-called unpopular opinions, amongst the players in the WoW community. As you know, of course, when people say unpopular opinion, actually means something that will inevitably be upvoted and super popular, and you actually have to go down and dig on the comments that are deleted, removed, or hidden because nobody enjoyed that. Those are the real unpopular opinions about this game. Let's start proving the point that the popular comments definitely don't carry unpopular opinions with the vocal players are the most miserable. The people who are enjoying playing the game are just doing that. They are busy playing the game. This is a fallacy. It's the fallacy in which the players, or rather the consumers of a product, are happy, therefore they are not busy sharing their happiness to other people. They are just busy doing the thing they enjoy. For example, they watch a movie, a TV show, or play a game they like, they keep doing that. However, when you are angry, disappointed, pissed, dissatisfied, you go and look for affirmation. You go and look for confirmation. You want to see other people agreeing with you with being annoyed, with being angry. That is why when you go around the WoW community, you often see and read when players are angry, but you don't often read and see when players are happy. This is not a specific of WoW. This is not just happening in here. It's just a normal occurrence. Now I'm gonna give you a trigger warning because I'm gonna hit you with an actual unpopular opinion, which might give you night terrors, nausea, fever, and even possible fainting. So you have been warned. So the take in question is Blizzard should increase the drop chance of the old mounts and transmogs because having to run 10 plus years old dungeons and raids for a sub 1% drop chance is boring and bad. Now, obviously, as expected, this is not unpopular at all. What would actually really be unpopular is the opposite of this. Blizzard should remove the availability of old mounts, old transmogs, and old achievements and what have you from the game, because those should only have been awarded to players who actually completed the content when it was challenging. Players should not be able to go around sporting the full tier 2 Judgment Paladin set from Blackwing Lair if they never played Blackwing Lair. Players shouldn't be able to mount Invincible from the Lich King if they didn't actually go and progress through the Ice Crown raid. Same goes for going around and sporting the title the Fire Lord if they never even saw Ragnaros in Cataclysm, for example. Now that would be an unpopular opinion, which of course doesn't show up in the comments because of course anyone who wrote it would have gotten banned on site due to causing mass hysteria on the casuals reading that unpopular opinion. Talking about a completely unpopular opinion, of course, is that LFR has a place in the game and is essential for casual players to see all the content. Of course, I'm sure this is a super edgy and underground hipster take that nobody shares, right? Obviously, the real unpopular opinion is that LFR is an abomination that should have never been in the game in the first place, especially because Blizzard introduced LFR with the tag, "This is just a tourist mode." We are not giving you achievements, we are not giving you loot, transmog, toys, pets, we're not giving you progression for quests, for legendary materials or reagents, nothing. As you say, you want to see all the content, so we let you see the content in LFR, but nothing more. Then the thing has developed into what it is now. Now you can get the loot, you can get the gear, the transmogs, you can get the legendary reagents, the legendary materials, the progression for quests, you can get achievements, you can get mounts, toys, pets, etc, etc. So it has long since passed the level of being just a tourist mode for seeing the content and actually started rewarding players for no reason, because completing an LFR raid should basically be a limitless test to see if you as a human should not be put in a mental ward for being mentally unstable. So that would be an unpopular opinion about the LFR. Now, this is a cool one. This could actually even pass for being an unpopular opinion without me having to reverse engineer the whole thing. Class identity matters and armor/class/race based transmog restrictions should exist. and we should honestly probably be more strict in some cases. So no more dumb shit like seeing Draenei Warlocks or Forsaken Undead Hunters and other things that make no sense whatsoever, wanting to be more roleplay heavy on allowing which certain classes should be allowed on which certain races. You know, I kind of share the sentiment. I have never really been cock-blocked from playing a certain class on a certain race. I'm mostly boring and vanilla when it comes to choosing it. I mostly choose who is performing better, so I don't care too much about the choice of the race. So maybe some players would share this idea that might be unpopular amongst players who just want to be able to play anyone, any race, on any spec, any class, etc, etc. So I will let the peasant who wrote this opinion away from the guillotine. I think it passes for being an unpopular one. Now, this one is perhaps not a very unpopular opinion. However, it's worth pointing out as it has a difficult solution to this problem. The game has become hyper-focused on Mythic Plus and raiding at the cost of everything else. There is very little world in World of Warcraft at the moment. Just quick and easy repeatable quests and events. This is perhaps an unpopular opinion across the entire player base, but definitely I would say a popular one amongst the casual solo player only, no group activity type of player who wants to be able to just play on his own and wants more things to do by himself. Obviously, the part that doesn't make much sense and will cause this user to be dragged away onto the chopping block of the guillotine blade is the part about just quick and easy repeatable quests and events. You know, complaining that nowadays WoW just has easy and repeatable quests in the open world is somewhat implying that we were previously in a golden age of WoW where the open world was filled with unbelievably engaging content. That has never happened. The quick, easy and repeatable quests, whether they were daily quests, weekly quests, world quests, they were still there and always have been there, so I'm not too sure what that is referring to. What type of WoW open world is this comment referring to that we should go back to, that it is better than Dragonflight? I think the open world of Dragonflight is quite filled of things to do, so maybe someone might be able to enlighten me a little bit more about this issue, apparently, that some players might have. This is a nice one. This I enjoy. 75% of the player base, source on the number, it came to me in a dream, probably is what this user said, is lazy ASF. And entitled. If they got their way, the game would immediately die. Good. It might be quite the unpopular one because definitely the devs should never listen to the player base, as the player base, and I would actually go above 75%, closer to 90 plus, is clueless, has absolutely no idea what you should do in the game to make it more successful. Now, once upon a time, one dev, which wasn't even about WoW actually, I think it was, I don't know, said that the users are very good at finding issues, at finding problems or things to fix in your game. So it's worth to listen to them at that point. The problem is that said users are also absolutely fucking terrible at giving suggestions. So they understand there is a hole in the wall and that hole is a problem. However, their suggestion is to poke a hole next to that hole and then draw a line down below and then a semicircle so that you can now make a smiley face in the wall. That's perhaps not the better solution at dealing with a hole in your wall. Much like in this case of listening to the player base when they think they can fix certain problems in the game. Now we can have a certified unpopular opinion. No need for me to retouch this statement to make it any more unpopular. Worlds of Draenor is my second favorite expansion. Make a chart, make a ranking in your head right now of your favorite expansion. I'm betting that less than 5% experts say, studies show, doctors reveal that Worlds of Draenor is one of the two favorite expansions of players. In fact, there are more chances, it is more likely that players have Worlds of Draenor in their bottom two favorite expansions, in their top two least favorite expansions, than in the top two most favorite expansions. So we can definitely classify this one as an unpopular opinion. This one might surprise quite a few of you, especially with the ones with an IQ above room temperature. The fact that many players dislike the usage of add-ons, in particular performance enhancing add-ons and third-party softwares or sites. So Warcraft logs, raid bots, simulation crafts, damage meters, weak auras, etc, etc. So the opinion that all of these things are great for the game, all of these things are very good tools for players to enjoy improving as a player on a certain spec, for example, could be quite the unpopular one amongst many players, many of the more casual player base. Obviously, there might have been some unfortunate encounters where some of these players take this min-maxing a bit too far and they get triggered because someone doesn't have the meta talent set up in a +3 key or in a heroic dungeon. That's a bit too much, that's pushing it a little bit too far. But, for all the players who say that damage meters are evil because they promote toxicity and you shouldn't care how much damage someone is doing as long as the boss dies, those people are thieves, they are robbers, they just steal every day air, oxygen from actually worthwhile people with impunity. So that is a little bit sad. Then we have something which I am afraid I will have to once more reverse engineer because the initial statement is, I would say, not unpopular. 10-man raiding was the best version of raiding. So this person has already been dragged off to the guillotine for this insane take, as it is not unpopular whatsoever. Now, I don't have much of anything against 10-man raiding. I did partake in 10-man raiding myself. The problem, however, was how it shaped the community. Many players started becoming quite aggressive, quite toxic towards trying to make 10-man raiding and 25-man raiding the exact same thing. Initially it was the achievements, and then it was titles, and then it was gear, and then we got to the point in Cataclysm where doing 10 men and doing 25 men gave you the exact same things. There was zero difference whatsoever in the two activities. 10-man raiding is of course significantly easier than 25-man raiding due to simply there are fewer players. It is easier to not mess up certain mechanics, and also it is easier to coordinate them. It's much simpler to have 2 DPS having to do a certain mechanic compared to 5 of them and having to coordinate them. Also, as shown by Blizzard themselves, it's much harder to balance, because sometimes you can mess up the numbers. Since the mechanics of a 10-man are simpler, you're trying to make them harder by numbers, and you mess up completely. Like you're turning, for example, the Firelance in Cataclysm, the 10-man version, a nightmare to progress because of how overtuned the numbers were in the 10-man version. So yes, it's good that we got rid of 10 men because it would have continued to be a balancing nightmare, not to mention the whole drama about item level, especially after the introduction of Mythic Plus. How do you slot, where do you slot the item level rewards from a 10-man? However, I do think that if the 10-man would be increased to a 12-man, spreading it into 3 groups of 4 and giving you 2 more DPS slots to be able to do more mechanics and have, more mechanics to deal with, I think it could possibly be more doable compared to the 10-man version of raiding. We can then finish, for today, with something that might actually stand on its own for being an unpopular opinion, I think. It's not been too long since we have had this change, so the jury is still out on whether or not this is unpopular or not. The pre-Dragonflight talents were much better and also easier to understand. I would think it's an unpopular opinion because I do not believe in this heresy. I think the Dragonflight talent system has improved in pretty much endless ways, almost every spec, giving them way more option and diversity in many choices compared to the rigidity of choice you had before with the talents. There are of course still problems and issues in certain talent trees. Some are too strong, some are too weak, but I think overall it's been a good implementation. So I would tag this statement as a proper unpopular opinion. However, the opinion is also of an incredibly low IQ, so I'm afraid this user will have to be carried on once more to the guillotine to face the consequences of such a brain rot heavy take. Well, now, with this, I feel like I have already lost enough brain cells, having to go through quite a few of these takes. So I think for my own sanity, we can stop for today, going over some of the more unpopular opinions that the community has around WoW. Of course, we can leave for today if you're not afraid of the guillotine yourself. You can leave down in the comments what are your unpopular opinions about WoW, some of the things not being mentioned in here. There are, of course, plenty more available for you to take. So, with this out of the way, on this Friday, we are going to leave each other once more, starting, of course, our goodbyes by thanking all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and help to the growth of the channel. You can still support, of course, completely for free. You can like and comment down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. So, with these things out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, oh man, it hurts. I have like a response headache from having read those things. My precious brain.